Have you ever wondered how some guys who aren't built like Greek gods end up with stunning women? We've all been there, thinking to ourselves, I'm better looking than him. Yet they're the ones taking away all the hotties. It's hurtful and hard to accept, but do you know that there are a few reasons behind this? It's not just luck, it's science. And today we're going to be diving into the weird psychology behind why men who might be considered conventionally ugly are winning at love. Stick with me as we break it down and figure out why the average guy might have a secret advantage in the dating game. Number 1. Confidence. A study in 2009 found that self-confidence significantly impacts how attractive someone appears to others. Researchers suggested that confident people were perceived as more appealing, even though they did not meet the traditional standards of physical attractiveness. The thing is, the way they carry themselves around makes them stand out from others. A woman would prefer a secure, masculine man over a man with Channing Tatum looks but with extreme insecurity or shyness. And as someone who's pulled his fair share of attractive women way above my league, it's mostly confidence. It's about knowing who you are as a person and how you can do better than yesterday for yourself. Start developing good habits like reading or going to the gym. You don't have to go there to get shredded. You're going there because the exercise is good for your mental state. As the saying goes, confidence is key. And in the dating game, nothing could be more accurate. However, a handful of other reasons go hand in hand with confidence, such as a great sense of humor. Number 2, charisma and humor. Before we get into this, understand that there's a massive difference between jokes with the boys and jokes with girls. Men can appreciate dark, unconventional humor, but in the case of women, it's usually the complete opposite. This comes from personal experience. Guys who are charismatic and funny are more likely to be admired. I'm no Zac Efron, but I can't tell you the number of times a well-placed joke and some light banter got me some crazy success with women in various settings. The gym, the bar, the beach, and even the library. Yep, a woman is more likely to want a guy who can make her laugh or feel easy around him. It kind of goes without saying. If you have a great sense of humor and are charming, women will be drawn to you. Laughter helps people get along, makes them feel good, and strengthens mental bonds. Charisma, on the other hand, means being friendly, interesting, and generally open. Studies have shown that when women choose a partner, they often care more about how funny and smart they are than how attractive they are physically. So while the handsome guy relies on his looks, Mr. Funny wins hearts by building an emotional connection through laughter. Once you've established a connection with her through a sense of humor, many think that's the end. They've won, right? Wrong. You still gotta put in a lot of effort. Number 3, effort and personality development. Men who are not very attractive may invest more effort into their personal growth and relationships. They often focus on developing their personality, career, or interests to stand out in other ways. This effort leads to a richer and more fulfilling partnership because they're more expressive and less self-obsessed. You see, physical attractiveness is only one aspect of compatibility. Intellectual stimulation, shared interests, and emotional connection are way more important. Ladies love a man who has ambition, kindness, and reliability. Looks alone can't help you at all. For example, if a guy is using his phone on a date with a girl rather than paying attention to her, that's obviously going to make her feel like she's not valued in the relationship. If the guy keeps talking about himself, his gym routine, his biceps, and other stuff about himself, she's going to immediately understand that you're not the one. Girls love attention, and that's a fact. A man with a more vibrant personality will probably give her that, rather than a man whose entire life revolves around himself. And along with efforts, there are some psychological factors at play too. Number 4, psychological factors. Human attraction works because of psychological mechanisms, and one theory that helps explain this phenomenon is the halo effect. In simpler words, it's when people make assumptions about someone based on just one trait, like looks. Interestingly, the halo effect works both ways. For men who are the proverbial stud, girls may not immediately think about their potential positive traits. However, this actually gives them an edge, because overly attractive individuals may sometimes be perceived as intimidating or unapproachable, which can work against them in forming deeper connections. On the other hand, the less attractive guy may seem to be much more approachable. And here's the kicker. Once the less attractive, underestimated guy shows off his personality, humor, and kindness, it's game over, because he's then suddenly seen as someone genuinely amazing, rather than just an average person. Science also backs this up, as a study shows that initial judgments based on physical traits often change after a deeper interaction. Additionally, women might subconsciously prefer men who exhibit qualities like loyalty, empathy, or emotional maturity, traits that have nothing to do with physical appearance. These traits tell the women that they can expect emotional stability and compatibility in the long run. It's actually really simple. Start doing small acts like leaving a note for them expressing love or planning a date, giving them what they want, and you'll see you start getting along with her much easier. So if you're sitting there and thinking, how is he getting the girl and I'm not? I think it's time to ask yourself if you're not focusing too much on acting too alpha and hard to get, or what you bring to the table. But is this enough? Well, not really. Number 5. Social media standards. Modern media and societal narratives have shifted perceptions of attractiveness. The old school beauty standards still exist to some extent. However, there is increasing recognition of the importance of inner beauty and character. Basically, the less attractive guy who brought his coworker a cup of coffee as a sweet gesture every day got the girl, while the tall, handsome guy who couldn't resist showing off how cool he was by acting nonchalant, wearing his so-called money suit outfit didn't. The reason why this has become a thing is because movies, TV shows, and social media often highlight this factor. I'm sure you've seen tons of shows where an average office employee ends up with a stunning girl, and the handsome, wealthy, and delusional CEO is in his own world thinking that everybody likes him. Moreover, societal pressure on women to prioritize personality over looks and men has a cultural influence. Women may feel encouraged to value emotional compatibility, intelligence, and shared goals over superficial traits like how tall or muscular the guy is. At the end of the day, women want a secure future because the muscles and six-packs will eventually fade away. But let me share a secret with you. Being emotionally connected with women is also a massive game changer. Number 6. Emotional intelligence. See, emotional intelligence is your ability to understand and manage your feelings while also connecting and empathizing with others. And trust me, in the dating world, this ability is your ticket into everything. Here's the thing. Physical attraction may catch someone's attention immediately at first, but what makes them keep coming back for more? Exactly, a man who makes them feel good and understands their feelings. Let's bring some science in. In 2011, a study was published that found that people who are more emotionally intelligent are very good at maintaining relationships. But why? You see, women are programmed to be much more emotional than men. And when they get a man who understands those feelings and validates them, boom, that's who they want to be with. Additionally, uglier men may have had to work harder to attract attention in the past, honing their relational skills to a higher degree. They may be more attentive listeners, better at providing emotional support, and making their partner feel valued. So while the guy who thinks he's the hottest man in the world starts arguing and getting defensive about why he didn't text back, the other one stays calm and listens to what their partner has to say and gives them a thoughtful response. Think about it this way. When you're upset, who do you turn to? The guy who brushes you off and goes on with his life, or the one who constantly reassures you that he is there for you and is there to listen to you? Now guess which guy is going to win the girl's heart? Alright, now we're going to talk about something that isn't talked about enough. Humility. Number 7. Lower ego and greater humility. Did you know that most breakups are caused solely because of ego? It's true. Anybody who gives off narcissistic vibes or thinks of himself as the best at everything is a big no-no. And in the case of women, this is a major turnoff. In contrast, a person who exudes humility is grounded and gives off a laid-back vibe is highly desirable. Let me give you an example. When someone is not full of themselves or overly obsessed with their looks, they are more likely to focus on the other person. In 2015, research suggested that humility is one of the biggest factors in predicting a relationship. Why? Because more humble individuals tend to prioritize their partner's feelings, show gratitude, and handle conflicts more gracefully. One man stays calm and collected during a disagreement and listens to their partner, trying to understand and sort things out rather than win, while the other one needs to be right all the time and not be held accountable for any mistakes. Who's gonna be more appealing? The guy who's always talking about himself and showing off, or the one who listens to their partner and doesn't feel the need to dominate the spotlight? Here's the thing about humility. It makes relationships feel better. When someone has a lower ego, they're less likely to be in competition with their partner and try to prove something. Instead, they're more focused on making things work and building something meaningful. But a relationship is never all happy and lovey-dovey. Number 8. Shifting priorities in relationships. because let's talk about how relationships have changed over time. Yes, when you're younger, it may seem like looks and how you make someone feel are the most important things. But as you grow older and mature, the definition of a relationship changes. What you want in a partner becomes different. Kindness, emotional bonds, and having the same goals becomes much more important than how someone looks. And funnily enough, research once again backs this up. A 2018 study published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships found that as people move through different life stages, they prioritize emotional support, reliability, and compatibility over physical attractiveness. Why? Because these are the traits that build lasting partnerships. This change is a big part of the reason why men who aren't naturally good-looking do so well in relationships. What they bring to the table goes far beyond looks. They pay attention to what counts. That is extremely attractive. And here's the thing, people aren't just looking for a perfect face or body when they want to build a relationship with someone. They want to be with someone who they can trust, who cares about them, and who shares their life goals. But there is still one question left unanswered. How are relationships started? Well, we all know that relationships don't come from nothing. In fact, relationships are highly influenced by the people around us, the role of social circles. Here's something a lot of people overlook when it comes to attraction: social circles. The truth is, the more time you spend around someone, the more attractive they become. And if you don't want to believe me, take a look at this. Studies show that the more we're exposed to someone, the more likely we are to find them attractive. This is called the mere exposure effect. This makes two people familiar with each other, which then turns to comfort and finally a connection. So, there might be a very high chance that the less attractive guy has a better shot at getting the girl than you, because he's spent more time around her building familiarity and comfort. Here's how it works. When you see someone regularly, whether it's at work, through mutual friends, or in your social group, you start noticing the little things about them: their humor, their kindness, their quirks. Over time, the mental connection overshadows the physical appearance, and suddenly, it's not a factor anymore. And this is where men who aren't traditionally good-looking really have an edge. They're often the ones who stick around, who show up consistently, and who become part of a woman's social circle. This is where they talk to each other about their daily lives and get to know each other much better, which makes it easier to build an emotional connection. But everything aside, it of course isn't like physical appearance just completely doesn't matter. It does. But the definition of attractiveness is different for everybody. Beauty is subjective. Attraction is deeply subjective and varies from person to person. What one individual finds unattractive might be highly appealing to someone else. Someone who has grown up in a certain culture or has a certain background might find something appealing that some other person does not. Men who are considered ugly by societal standards might be still incredibly attractive to someone who values traits that align with their preferences. Think about it. How many times have you met someone who didn't seem particularly attractive at first, but as you got to know them, their personality, humor, or kindness made them irresistible? That's because real beauty isn't just about what's on the outside. It's about how someone makes you feel, how they show up, and how they connect with you on a deeper level. Okay, so we've broken down why men who aren't normally attractive are getting and keeping relationships. The answer is simple. Focus on what matters most. Having confidence, being emotionally intelligent, being humble, being real, and making strong connections through shared social groups and familiarity. And again, showing up is key. If you've ever thought you weren't good looking enough, know this: how you look doesn't matter as much as who you are. Don't worry about things you can't change. Instead, start taking care of yourself. Hone the skills that will boost your confidence. Go to the gym and get that dream physique. Learn how to listen, talk, and connect with people more deeply to improve your emotional intelligence. Also keep in mind that relationships take time to form. Be present, be there for people, and make real bonds with the people you know. It's not just how you look that makes someone like you. It's how you make them feel. Being kind, putting in effort, and being present will make you stand out in ways that a perfect jawline never could. So, work on the things that last, and you'll see changes in every part of your life, not just your relationships.